Torpedoes astern.
Torpedoes astern.
We've destroyed an enemy cruiser.
Hey guys, how's it going? And today we have ZuikakuDere in their Des Moines. Now this map is the Des Moines' worst nightmare. It's ocean. No islands to hide behind. Not a lot of destroyers either, so not a lot of smoke cover. Not a great situation for Des Moines typically. Usually they'll kind of get pounded to bits. But Zuikaku is going to play this very, very well. And they're just going to put a wrecking ball to this enemy team. Now, I'm kind of leaving it in before Zuikaku starts shooting because it's kind of an important part of the replay. You can see Zuikaku's being quite aggressive with their push here. They're pushing straight into sea with the destroyer. Kind of hoping that the destroyer gives them smoke. But at the same time, they're not getting spotted and the destroyer's not getting countercapped. So it looks like most of the enemy team has gone north. And Zuikaku's also been able to be this aggressive because the only destroyer on the enemy team is a Kabaharvask, and that's up at sea. So quite easy to, sneak a cap. But the gearing has put up a smoke cloud. Zuikaku did get spotted when they first fired right there, but they'll slip into the smoke cloud before anything can turn its guns this way. And it just sets Zuikaku up to, pound the crap out of this enemy team at long range while they get into position. So right now we're dropping shots on this Montana. There's a almost 4,000 hit right off the bat. You can see Zuikaku slowly, slowly zeroing in the guns, not angling in the guns. That would be weird. But now we're getting consistent hits. There's already a fire set on that Montana. It looks like he decided to put it out. That's a pretty bad choice when you have a lot of the team focusing you down. And really, it's no fault of this Montana for being focused down. He's just the easiest one to shoot at right now because he really has nowhere else to go if he wants to push. And you can see Zuikaku's getting some very, very good hits. Always between 2,000 and 3,000 damage. There's another fire that guy can't put out, and he's just not in a very good position. The ships behind Zuikaku, I think it's their division mates, are slowly ripping into them too. So it's it's not going too well for that guy. Oh, that poor Montana. He just wants to get the hell out of Dodge at this point. But surprisingly, he hasn't turned out. All this broadside fire is coming in, and there's torpedoes coming in from his side that aren't quite making it to him. But he hasn't turned out yet. Oh, maybe those will make it. I thought they had faded out. But he's actually turned in to continue taking more fires. Ah, there's the fade out from the torpedoes. And while the smoke's still going, you can see Zuikaku starting to kind of slowly start to push out of it. And that's kind of in response to the threat that's starting to go on up north. They've already lost one of their cruisers and they've lost one of their two destroyers, so they've basically lost their destroyer advantage. And while that Montana's low, the enemy team is really hardcore pushing north. And the friendly Lexington that I'm not even sure is playing seems to have no intent of moving anytime soon. And yep, there goes the Montana to the division mate in the Henri. So Zuikaku silences their guns for a minute, stays unspotted, and assesses the situation. The Kabaharvask is pushing straight for the Lexington. There's a Moskva backing him up, and it looks like Zuikaku was just plain spotted by the enemy carrier. But it does look like the Frederick de Grosse is taking the brunt of the fire currently. There's a Yamato way the hell down south. The enemy, I think it's an Enterprise, is taking cover way in the back. No, it is a Lexington. That's my bad. I can't really read the minimap from here. And it looks like most of the enemy team is still pushing north, where they're kind of starting to angle into B as they go through the sea cap. But this Moskva, the Kabaharvask, and there's an Edinburgh that's following them pretty closely, are going to become a problem real soon. Armor piercings loaded, lobbed shots at the Moskva, who is pretty broadside, and also lobbed some armor piercing at the Kabaharvask. The ZuikakuDere has, I think it's 50 millimeters of belt armor, and that will be enough to stop a 203 millimeter high explosive shell. So in most cases, or some cases at least, firing armor piercing at the Kabaharvask is actually a pretty good idea. Though only one overpen switches back to the high explosive as the Kabaharvask actually smokes up. Haven't seen a smoke Kabaharvask in a while, and I know I'm saying that wrong, guys, but it's how I'm used to saying it. That Lexington is not doing very good. It looks like he either just reconnected or just decided to take a note of the enemy team's movement and is now fleeing the area. And I think the Edinburgh that I mentioned earlier is actually that Neptune. I can't quite remember the whole replay. I received it a few days ago, and with the Christmas boxes coming out and ranked coming up, I've been wicked busy lately. But it looks like the Neptune's kind of slowing down too. The Lexington is down from the Moskva's fire. And yeah, it's not looking great. The friendly team's down 4-1. The only kill is in this cute division. And it's cute the clan, not the players. Yeah, not looking amazing. And there goes a battleship. But Zuikaku has one other Des Moines up here working with them. The rest of the friendly team is down south fighting the Yamato, and that's really it. But it seems like Zuikaku knows the shell arc of these guns and is taking pot shots at the fastest destroyer in the game at about 13 kilometers, so that's pretty good. Even though they're misses, they're still pushing the Kabaharvask around and forcing him to make maneuvers and keeping him from really pushing in and getting that DPM working. But right now, Moskva's getting focused down. That's a pretty big threat because its laser shells, if they show any sort of broadside, will easily penetrate. So here comes the fire spam. There's 2 fires on the Moskva already. Did he put them out? It doesn't quite look like it. But we're just going to start raining shells on him. And while they're not doing quite a lot of damage yet, once he stops turning and like that, he'll start getting almost 5,000 damage salvos off on him. That's if the friendly Des Moines can actually decide to do something here and land some decent shots. There's 3,000 damage and another fire. I think his other fires just went out. So this poor guy is just getting DPM'd to death by 2 Des Moines. It's a pretty nasty situation for a Moskva to be in. That thing can't really DPS fight 2 Des Moines. Ooh, there's some armor piercing coming in, and yeah. That's the lightning shells of the Moskva at play. But Zuikaku has loaded armor piercing as the Moskva starts to turn out. Does 6,000 damage to the side of his ship. That's a light hit. Another light hit for 1,000. Come on. We need a good hit here. Yeah, there's 2 Citadels for 9,000 damage, sending him to the bottom. Now we just have this Neptune to work with. Neptune hasn't done a lot of damage this match, and he has just decided to smoke up. Zuikaku did get 2 shots off at his previous location. There's 1 penetration and nothing with the second. That's okay though. Zuikaku is detected by, I think, the Kabaharvask, but that Neptune really isn't doing much damage. I don't think he quite knows how to aim his shells. He's doing little bits here and there, but it's nothing extreme. Kabaharvask has just popped up slightly outside of radar range, but that doesn't really matter because it looks like he has no intention of smoking up. You can see Zuikaku switching back to the armor piercing, ignoring the Kabaharvask, and popping the radar. And Neptune sitting still, not paying attention to the Des Moines that is about to get within radar range. That's not going to end well for you, buddy. 5 Citadels, come on, a little bit more. And gone. 7 Citadels sends that guy to the bottom. Switch back to high explosive. There's an Iowa that's trying to force his way into this area. That's typically not a great thing for the Des Moines to face off with. But at the same time, the Iowa didn't get a ton of damage off with his first salvos, and he's already gotten a fire on him. With the Iowa being on a reload, Zuikaku shows a little bit of broadside to get that gun swung around and unload some armor piercing at that Iowa's broadside. Hasn't done a lot though. Okay, there's a better hit. Almost 6,000 damage going off on that Iowa. Back to the high explosive. There's a fire that he can't put out. Little bits of damage there. Will the next salvo do just as much, or will it do more? Another fire for him. Same amount of damage though. We're going to need some bigger hits here. pretty soon. There's a better hit. 1,000 damage going off on him. Just continuing to rain shells on this poor Iowa that's just trying to get away at this point. And he's not doing very well at fighting back. His rear gun has missed, and he's got another fire on him that he can't put out. Little bits of damage still going off. The Des Moines just being the typical annoying DPM machine it always is. Sorry, Zuiho wants my attention. That's my cat, by the way. But this Iowa just wants to get out of dodge. But he's not going dark, mostly because he can't. There's the Wither Award, and there goes the Iowa. He got one last shot in, which hurt a little bit. But, you know, a dead Iowa is a dead Iowa. Especially when you're in Des Moines on an open map. Looks like the enemy Iowa was, or not Iowa, the enemy Des Moines was just completely deleted by a Montana, which is pretty good. But the Khabarovsk has killed the Henri in Zuikaku's division. It's still not looking good, though it's 4 ships versus 4 ships. The enemy team has a carrier, still has a battleship that's a huge threat to Des Moines, still has a Khabarovsk, which is a very annoying Russian destroyer, and it still has a cruiser sailing around. So Missouri, Khabarovsk, Lexington, and Hindenburg. That's a pretty nasty combo to be up against in a Des Moines that doesn't have a lot of health left. Zuikaku has one more heal, but they've only got about 14,000 health to their name right now. There's the Missouri, there's the Hindenburg, who thankfully is not on much health and is trying to bow tank the friendly team. Friendly team does look like it's focusing down the Khabarovsk. Sadly, it looks like we just lost our Montana. Missouri's going to fight the friendly team, so Zuikaku is taking the free shots into his backside with the high explosive. There's a fire. Hopefully that'll help the friendly team out a bit and get some damage off on that guy. Looks like he did put out the fire, so maybe a friendly can start one. It looks like the battleship over there is in a bad spot, and if he goes down, it's going to leave it all to the 2 cruisers, which are just 2 Des Moines. Like I said, ocean map against a battleship, 2 Des Moines should not live too long. That's if they don't play smart. And we've seen Zuikaku play pretty smart so far. I mean, they've done 212,000 damage so far on a wide open map. That's not something you typically see with a Des Moines. But now we're trying to focus down this Khabarovsk. There's a fire for him. His engine's out. Will the next shot connect? That'll finish him off. And come on, RNG. 1,000 health, and we can't finish off the Khabarovsk. He's doing a good job at turning now, but he couldn't do that before. And it looks like the friendly Des Moines has landed an armor-piercing shot on him and taking out that last bit. Back to the enemy carrier. Looks like the Hindenburg's throwing shots this way. At least yep, does look like he is. But Zuikaku's paying attention to him while they unload at the carrier. Yeah, that guy's not doing too well on health. Lobbing shots at the threat instead of the carrier as they light a fire on the carrier. Really, the carrier's not that big of a threat to the Des Moines. I'm not sure if this is an AA build, but he seems to be aware that the Des Moines is an AA threat and has proceeded to keep any sort of planes away. The friendly team is encouraging Zuikaku to attack the CV. I'm agreeing with the idea of not, because the real threat here is the Hindenburg. In order to get a lot of damage off on the CV, Zuikaku would have to ignore that Hindenburg completely, possibly showing broadside to him, continue taking shots from both him and the Missouri, and he'd be doing damage to a ship that really both doesn't want to hit him and isn't that much of a threat. So I think it's the right choice to be shooting the Hindenburg here, as that's the only perceivable threat to Zuikaku at the moment. But that Hindenburg will be going down fairly shortly with 2 Des Moines shooting at him, and you can see Zuikaku already turning their attention back to the carrier. And that poor Hindenburg should be going down here pretty soon. Yeah, the friendly Des Moines has taken him out. Now Zuikaku does not have defensive fire on this ship, but at the rate these planes are getting chewed up, I guess they really don't need it. Armor piercing into the broadside of that Lexington should be dishing out some really nice damage. There's a 6,000 damage hit. What will the next one do? 4,300. Wow, those bombs did not leave Zuikaku on a lot of health. Hopefully both those torpedo bombers get shot down. There goes one, there goes two. Perfect. We're looking for some citadels here before that Missouri decides to take us out. 800 health. Come on. Get that damage off before the Missouri looks this way. He's got shots coming in. Turn, 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 turn. We need some damage. There's two citadels on the Lexington. Come on. Yeah, there he goes. 3 citadels taking out that tier 8 carrier. Some very good dodges going off between the Missouri salvos here. Zuikaku's doing a very good job of staying aware of when that battleship fires and who he's aimed at. So, making it very, very simple to dodge those shots. And that's something that a lot of players don't do. They'll get tunnel visioned on their targets and proceed to just get pounded. The problem is now it's only going to take one hit for that Missouri to sink Zuikaku, and you can see RNG's making it pretty easy. He's slowly getting closer to sinking Zuikaku's 800 HP Des Moines. It's all the hit points that this Des Moines has left. It's spent all of it trashing this enemy team. But it does look like he's been annoyed by the friendly Des Moines enough that he's taking a pot shot at him. Guess that didn't do too much damage either. Looks like he has switched his fire back this way. Zuikaku's trying to get off a little bit more damage, trying to work down this Missouri before he does get a shot off, hopefully enabling that friendly Des Moines to win. He should get a fire on him if Zuikaku does set one. One of these two Des Moines has to. They're both firing high explosive. It just takes RNG and oof, another close miss. It's gonna take RNG blessing them to sink this guy. Come on, we need a fire. Somebody set one. He can't repair it. He might have a heal. He did go broadside to Zuikaku. He's still looking this way. So Zuikaku switches back to the armor piercing, trying to dish out this damage. There's 2,700. Here comes the shots and ouch. The Missouri finally got lucky and put Zuikaku out of the fight. Now this friendly Des Moines, Zuikaku makes a point of disagreeing with what they're doing. And I sort of have to agree. He's not making use of his front guns while the enemy Missouri's not looking at him. Between reloads, this Des Moines shouldn't be, well, of course, showing broadside while he fires, but he should be wiggling the side of his ship around in order to get those extra 2 guns in the fight while that Missouri can't shoot at him. But of course, it does look like RNG blessed him. He got a fire on him, and that Missouri is going to burn down, ending in a win for Zuikaku's Des Moines. Like I said, this map is the Des Moines' worst nightmare. There's no cover. There's nothing to hide behind when the enemy team decides to focus you down and try to get you out of the fight. There's nothing for you to sit behind, arc your shells over, and get that DPM downrange without getting shot back at. Des Moines isn't the most heavily armored cruiser, but Zuikaku's ability to work it on this map like that is just truly, truly impressive. And that 293,000 damage that Zuikaku put out, almost 294,000, certainly is a testament to that. Of course, with a Witherer, Confederate, high caliber, and 4 kills under their belts, it definitely shows that. The 12 Citadels, 1 capture thanks to that gearing popping a smoke cloud, and that last ditch effort by the carrier led to 13 planes shot down. Of course, with all that work put in, Zuikaku ends up on the top of their team with 3,300 base experience, which is a purely impressive number for, like I said, the worst map you could possibly get a Des Moines on. And especially with how bad the game was looking at the beginning, with the friendly team being down 4 or 5 ships and a carrier, it was just not looking great for Zuikaku, and it was looking like it was going to be a nasty loss with all the enemy battleships and the larger cruisers still surviving. But they did pull it off in the end. And you can kind of see via the damage report that it was really not all spamming high explosive like a lot of Des Moines will do. Zuikaku made very good use of both shell types, doing 107,000 with high explosive and 118,000 with armor piercing. Des Moines has very good armor piercing shells, and a lot of people don't like using them because of the shell travel time. But with the auto ricochet angles that the Des Moines has and the absolute DPM that the ship can put down while people are trying to turn, it leads to just decimating strikes like you saw against the Neptune, the Citadels against the Moskva, the damage done to both the Iowa class battleships and even the Lexington. It's just terrifying to watch sometimes. And of course 68,000 damage with fires, giving in that Witherer and tipping off the scales for the damage to well over 200,000 damage. Like I said, extremely good job to Zuikaku there, proving that the cruiser's worst nightmare, discounting Tears of the Desert, for a map is not as fearsome as it should be, as long as you know how to work your ship and wiggle at the right times. Anyway guys, good luck in your battles, good luck if you're playing ranked, and see you next time.